So let's start off with an easier one. Now I say this one's easier because in example number 1, what's the value of A? For number 1, what's the value of A? It's 1, yeah. When A equals 1, very simple, we just do the sum product method. So let's quickly review that. I know a few of you already feel great about it, which is good, but I just wanted to review it one more time for those of you who might need a little extra help with it. So which of these numbers is going to be my sum? Good. 7 is going to be my sum. And then my product has to be 30. And not just 30, but negative 30. So if the product is negative and the sum is positive, if the product is negative, we know that the two numbers have to be what? If we get a negative product, one of the numbers has to be negative and the other one has to be positive. Exactly. So we're looking for a combination of a positive number and a negative number. So now this is where you got to start thinking. You got to start thinking, and one way that we can come up with the correct response is to start listing all of the factors of negative 30. So, okay, good, Guillermo, 15 times 2. Negative 2. What are other factors of 30, of negative 30? 3 and 10. Negative 3 and 10. Negative 5 and 6. Good. And it could go negative 2 and positive 15, or it can go positive 2 and negative 15. For all of these, it could go the other way. And of course, yeah, negative 1 and 30. Okay, so after you list all of the possibilities, you have to think, okay, is there a possibility, is there a combination that adds up to positive 7? Which combination adds up to positive 7? Good, negative 3 and positive 10. That's our magic numbers, because negative 3 plus 10 equals 7, and negative 3 times 10 equals negative 30. So the two magic numbers are negative 3 and positive 10. And now I can simply factor. All we need to do is put those numbers right into my binomial. So negative 3 and positive 10. So those are my factors. And then once you have the factors, all you have to do is, how do I get the zeros after that?
Flip the sign.
You flip the sign, yeah. So the factors are x minus 3 and x plus 10. And then the zeros, the x-intercepts are positive 3 and negative 10. Simple as that. So take a look through it, see if there's any remaining questions on how to factor when A equals 1. All right, cool. Now, number 2, a little more challenging, because what's the matter with number 2? What's different? Yeah, we got a 6. A equals 6. Can you do the sum product method when A is greater than 1? No. So what do I have to do first? Okay, what type of math? Good. We divide everything by 6. But where does that 6 go? Where does the 6 go? Does it just go away? No, it goes to the front. It goes to the front. Basically, what we're doing here is what this is called is we're factoring out the 6. We're taking it out and we're leaving it out in the front. And then when I divide, let's see what's left over. When I divide everything by 6, what do I get? X squared. 30 divided by 6. Don't forget to divide. 5, good. And then 24 divided by 6 is 4. Okay, now I have a trinomial. Now my leading coefficient is 1 on here. So now I can use the sum product method. So my sum has to be -5 and my product has to be +4. So now I'm going to give everyone a chance. I know a few of you already did this, but if any of you haven't done it yet, I'm going to give everyone 30 seconds. Think of two numbers that add up to -5 and multiply to make +4. Take a moment, take about 10 more seconds. All right. Now anyone can go ahead and say it out loud. What are the two numbers? Karina already had it written. She was just ready to press send. Okay, good. -4 and +1. So if you do it the long way, we know that we have to multiply to make +4. So the long way would be, okay, 1 times 4, 2 times 2, but we can also have -1 times -4 and -2 times -2. And the correct combination is -1 and -4, because -1 plus -4 equals -5, and -1 times -4 equals +4. So -1 and -4. So I can break it down one more step. I get -1, x minus 1, and x minus 4. And those are my factors. From there, what are my zeros? Good. My zeros, we have to flip. So x equals +1 and x equals +4. So that is factoring in a nutshell. That was everything we worked on yesterday. So any questions? Go ahead, make sure that you have it all down. Take a picture if you need to continue working. Take a look at each step and let me know if anyone has any questions.
I have a question. Where did the 6 go?
The 6 in here, we divided by
Yes.
6. Okay, so so just to review that, everything has to be divided by 6 because you can't do the sum product method if a, the number in the front, the leading coefficient, if a is greater than 1. You can only do it when a equals 1. That's the only time. So since all three of these numbers are divisible by 6, all we did was we went and we divided everything by 6. So 6 divided by 6 is 1. 30 divided by 6 is 5. And 24 divided by 6 is 4.
So when you divide it by 6, it cancels out the 6?
It cancels out the 6, exactly. And that's exactly what we wanted to do, because now my leading coefficient is 1, and I can use the sum product method. Does that make sense?
Yes, it does. Thank you.
You're welcome. Okay. Someone in the chat is asking me, what's a good way to remember like the steps for how to do this? So what I would say is the best way to memorize or to like be able to remember what to do is, one, make sure that you write down everything that I do in class. And when you're writing down your notes, you can copy everything I have exactly the same way, but you can also write like little reminders for yourself. So if you're struggling to remember how to do things in order, you kind of forget like what's the first step, what's the second step, you can write that down for yourself. Make little annotations. Yeah. So you can write, okay, step 1, think of 2 numbers that add up to 7, and 2 numbers, the same 2 numbers have to multiply to make -30. Just write little notes on the side. That's one thing. Now, the other thing that's really, really helpful is to go back and rewatch the video, but the way to don't just watch it. The way to do it to like help yourself out the best would be to pause right before I do a problem, try doing the problem by yourself, hit play again, and check your work as you go. Because the more and more that you try it on your own, that's when you're going to realize what you still need to understand and what you do understand. So doing things on your own is really helpful, especially if you watch older videos, because then I'm going to give you the answer, right? So you can check your work as you go, and you can like slowly learn to do it completely on your own. So those are two strategies. Does anyone have any other strategies for how they how you help yourself to memorize things? Gum. Does chewing gum help you memorize, Guillermo? That seems a little bit fishy. I don't know about that. I'm gonna have to check the science on that. Anybody else? Okay. All right, so today we're gonna continue with factoring, but we're gonna do slightly more challenging problems. So for these problems, again, please make sure that you're writing down exactly what you see on the board so that you can keep up and make sure you're doing things correctly. So let's take a look at this example. What's wrong with this example? Or what's challenging about this example?
You can't divide 7 by 2.
Right. So, okay, a equals 2. So usually what I would want to do is I would want to go and take this and divide it by 2. But, okay, 2 divided by 2 is 1. 7 divided by 2, that's going to be a decimal. 15 divided by 2, that's also going to be a decimal. So 7 and 15 are not divisible by 2. So we can't do this. We cannot. And when you are in this situation, when you can't divide by a, you are going to use something called the AC method. The AC method. So the AC method is when you're going to take the a value and you're going to multiply it by the c value. So in my example, what is a? Well, we already said a is 2, but what is c? Which one is my c value? The 15 is c. Good. -15, by the way. -15. So remember, this is a, this is b, and this is c. A, b, c. So a is 2, c is -15. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to multiply those numbers. So 2 times -15, what do I get? I get -30. What I'm going to do now is the -30 is my product. So now it kind of goes back to sum product a little bit. So this is now my product. And now my sum is still the same number. Sum is still -7. So now I need to think of two numbers that multiply to make -30 and add up to make -7. All right,
We already did this.
but a slightly different problem.
Oh. Oh, sorry.
We might have seen the same numbers before. So what two numbers are going to add up to -7 and multiply to make -30?
Are we able to use the same numbers
They have to both be the same numbers.
from the last problem because they have the same
If
product,
if that's what we got, that's what we got.
but they're both negative, so it'll be positive then. Wait, no.
Hmm.
No, not positive. It's gonna be one negative and one positive.
It's going to be one negative number and one positive number.
3 times 10. -3.
Good. 3 and 10. Now, it's 3 and 10, but is it going to be -3 and +10? Or is it going to be +3 and -10? So Guillermo's saying it's going to be -10. Ijara, you just put
-10 and +3.
-10 and +3. Yeah, -10 plus 3, that gives me -7. -10 times 3, that gives me -30. So it's -10 and +3. Okay, so far, pretty similar. The only difference so far is that we had to do A times C. A times C is -30, and that was the product. Well, now this is where things are a little bit different. So I need everyone to watch very carefully to what I'm going to do. I'm going to split this up. We just said that -10 plus 3 gives me -7, right? -10 plus 3 gives me -7. So I'm going to write this as 2x squared minus 10x plus 3x minus 15. So watch what I did. I know that -10 and +3 add up to make -7. So all I'm really doing is I'm taking my -7 and I'm splitting it up into two, okay, into two different numbers. Yeah, we have a polynomial now. Have I lost anybody? Is everybody still with me? Any questions on that step?
Since we couldn't divide the 2 by any of the other numbers, we had to do this process instead.
Yes. Yeah, so it's a longer, this only happens when you can't divide by A. Okay, so I split this up into two, and now I'm going to do something called factoring by grouping. So matter of fact, I just want to make sure we all can follow along with all the steps. So let me write down the steps that we've done so far. First thing was multiply A times C to get your product. Step 2 was we found the magic numbers. And then step 3, which we just did, was we split up the B. Remember, because -7 is my B. Let me write that down. Okay, so we split up the B into the two magic numbers. And now we're going to do what's called factoring by grouping. And let me show you what that looks like. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to group. I have 4 terms, 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm going to group them in groups of 2 with my plus sign in the middle. So I'm grouping these 2 together and I'm grouping these 2 together. And now I'm going to look at the first grouping. And can anybody tell me, what do these 2 numbers, these 2 terms have in common? The 2x squared and the 10x, what do they have in common?
The same variable.
They both have x. And then what are they both divisible by?
They're not both divisible. Are they both divisible by 2?
Can you divide 2 by 2?
2 by 2 is 1.
Yeah. And 10 divided by 2?
5.
5. So they both are divisible by 2. So the 2 things they have in common are 2.
We're talking about the 3, like 2 divided by 3.
Oh, no, just these 2 numbers. So both of these are divisible by 2 and x. Now let's take a look at these two terms. What are both of these divisible by?
3.
3. So I'm going to divide it by 3. So I'm taking it very slow. Any questions up to this point? Okay. Now, similar to before, this 2x isn't going anywhere. I'm just putting it in the front. And when I divide by 2x, let's see, 2x squared divided by 2x, what am I left with?
X squared.
Close. Since I have x squared up here and just x on the bottom, how many x's am I left with?
X3 cubed.
I'm dividing, not multiplying.
X, just x.
Just x, yeah. So let me go through that again. 2 divided by 2, I get 1. So Guillermo, you were right with the 1. X squared divided by x, I just have one x left over. You can think of it this way, they cancel out. So this x cancels out my exponent. So I'm left with just x. And we'll do this a few times, we'll get used to it. So 1x. Then negative 10x divided by 2x, what does that leave me with?
Negative 5.
Negative 5, good. Just negative 5, because the x's cancel out. X cancels out with the other x. So I'm left with negative 5. Okay, sorry, just wanted to get rid of that little one. Okay, now over here, oh, let me close my parentheses. Now over here, 3x divided by 3, what am I left with? Good, Guillermo, just 1x. Negative 15 divided by 3, I'm left with negative 5. Let me review that one more time because I know that it can be challenging. I want to make sure we understand. If I divide 2x squared, this exponent, okay, this is technically when I have an exponent of 2, it's x times x. So if I have x times x, but then I'm dividing it by x, I'm left with 1x on its own. So that's why I get x over here. And then 2 divided by 2 cancels out. So 2x squared divided by 2x leaves me with only x. Negative 10x divided by 2x leaves me with negative 5. Over here, 3x divided by 3. 3 divided by 3 is 1, so I'm just left with x. And then negative 15 divided by 3, I'm left with negative 5. Oh, and I forgot, my bad. I forgot to bring this 3 right here, doesn't go anywhere, it just goes to the front. So pausing here, any questions? Question, Guillermo? Can it be x minus 2 squared? No, and I'll explain that in a moment. Any other questions though? I'll explain it. I'm about to go into that part. Cool. Okay. So then what happens? We're almost there. We're actually on the last step, I promise. Then what happens is I have 2x out here and I have plus 3 over here. Those are going to come together. Those come together. And then x minus 5 and x minus 5, that's my other factor. Just x minus 5. It doesn't get squared. And that's a little bit complicated to explain. I will explain it. But for now, just notice what happens. We put these together. 2x plus 3 comes together. And then I'm left with x minus 5. And that was my last step. I'm actually done.
We ran a whole marathon with this question.
Yes, that's what I said. Today is focused entirely on this process because it is challenging. I completely agree. But it's the type of thing where the more and more and more and more that you do it, the better and better and better you're going to get. Okay, so there's the question I've been waiting for. What happened to the other x minus 5? What happened? Let me explain. Can I erase this stuff on this side over here? May I please erase?
Yes.
Okay, cool.
I was going to say that the x minus 5 could be x minus 5 by the power of 2.
So that's what it feels like is going to happen, right? But let's remember from yesterday's class, foiling, or oh, I just gave it away. Factoring is the opposite of what?
Standard? Wait, no.
The process of factoring is the opposite of?
Foiling?
Yeah, foiling. Factoring and foiling are the opposite of each other.
So that means like it should have been x squared and not negative 5x.
So what I was going to do is I'm going to take this binomial, which we ended up with, and let's foil this, but let's foil this a slightly different way. I'm just going to show you what I mean. Remember that there's foiling, but there's also something where we can take the first term, so 2x, and multiply it by x minus 5. Do you guys remember this? So we take just the first term times x minus 5, and then I'm going to take just the second term times x minus 5. Notice that that's exactly the same thing that I have over here. You guys see that?
Wait, you just broke it apart.
Yeah, I broke it apart. That's exactly what I did. So I took just 2x. 2x, we go and we multiply it times x minus 5. Then I took just 3, and I multiply it times x minus 5. But when I do that, I end up with the same thing that I had over here. Do you notice that? So the reason that we can go from this step to this step is it's just the backwards of what I did over here. It's just the opposite direction, because factoring is literally just the opposite of foiling. They go hand in hand. So yes, it is a little bit confusing. Yes, it is a little bit challenging. Yes, it is something that we have to just get used to and go through over and over again in order to make it make sense. But as long as we understand where things are coming from, that's half of the battle. That's more important in my opinion. So any questions at this point? Okay. All right, let's do another. I promise it'll get easier. It'll get easier as we go. I have to take attendance real quick, guys, so give me 1 second, and then we'll move on to the next example. Okay, cool. All right. So let's do another one. So in this example, very similar situation, right? If you want to divide by 4, we're good here. We're good here, but 5 divided by 4, not going to work. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to go through the AC method. A equals 4. What's C?
-5.
-5. So remember, the first thing we're going to do is we're going to multiply A times C. And what's that going to be? So 4 times -5, I get
-20.
-20. That's my new product. What's my sum?
-8.
-8. Now we think, two numbers that add up to -8 and multiply to make -20.
It's gonna be a negative number and a positive number.
Good, it's going to be a combination, positive, negative. So everyone think about it for a while. Let's see who can get it first.
I already have it.
You have it. Let's give everyone else another 15 seconds to think. Two numbers that add up to -8 and multiply to make -20. Good, RL's got it. Ijara's got it. Very nice. -10 plus 2 gives me -8. -10 times 2 gives me -20. I have my magic numbers. Now I take my magic numbers and I split up my b value. So this ends up being 4x squared minus 10x plus 2x minus 5. Now the order does not matter. And that's actually something really cool about this method, is that it doesn't matter if you write -10 plus 2 or if you write it as 2 minus 10x. You can write it either direction. It works both ways. Questions up to this point? Cool. Now I'm going to factor by grouping. So remember, we're going to group the first two numbers and we group the second two numbers.
This isn't gonna work.
Oh, it will. Don't worry. You'll see why. Let's start through it. So what do 4x squared and -10x have in common?
They're in the same even family.
So they both have 2 in common, yeah. And what else? X, good. 2 and x. So I can divide this by 2x. Okay, so the in-school students are moving. Okay, y'all can go move. Come right back wherever you end up. Just come back to the Zoom. I'll stay on this page. We won't go anywhere. We'll wait for you guys. Okay. Yeah, that's fine. Well, I'll wait for you guys. You guys go. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go through the problem and then I'll do it all again when they come back. So we get 2x because both of these you can divide both of them by 2 and you can divide both of them by x. Now what about here? Do they have anything in common?
No.
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 Yeah. Well, if they don't have anything in common, what we can do is we can divide by 1. So 2x goes in the front. And now let's see what we get. So 4x squared divided by 2x, what does that leave me with?
2x. I mean, just x. No, no, no.
Or you had it
2x
correct.
squared?
Um,
2x. 2x.
just 2x. So 4 divided by 2 gives me 2. X squared divided by x leaves me with x. Because remember, if you have an x in the numerator and the denominator, they're going to cancel out. But here I have 2 x's in the top, 1 x on the bottom. So I'll be left with 1x. What about here? Negative 10x divided by 2x. What does that leave me with?
Negative 5.
Negative 5. Because negative 10 divided by 2, I get negative 5. And then x divided by x, the x's cancel out. Now, on the other hand, my 1 goes out in the front. And I'm just dividing by 1, so nothing's going to change. Which is fine because now, let's take a look at what happened. We ended up with the same thing. That's always what you want. You always want to end up with the same exact thing inside of the parentheses, which if I go back really quickly, that's what happened here as well. We were left with x minus 5 and x minus 5. So now the last thing I can do is I can bring these two together. So 2x plus 1. And then bring these two together, 2x minus 5. And that's my factored form. Take a moment, see if you have any questions about where any of those numbers came from. Yeah, it's kind of similar, Karina. Yeah. Like if they're both the same, you only have to count it one time because they end up being the same thing. If you counted it twice, that wouldn't really change anything because they're the same number. So yeah, in a way, that's actually very, very similar. Now from here, let's do what we haven't really done this with the previous problem, but now I can figure out my x-intercepts. But in this case, can I do it the short way where I just flip the sign, or do I have to do it the long way? So based on my two factors, if I want to find the x-intercepts, what do I have to do? Oh, you guys are back already? Okay, cool. Awesome. So that's the question, Karina. Can we flip the sign in this case? Can I do, okay, x equals -1 and x equals +5? Or do I have to do something else? What do you guys think? So there's something that does not allow me to do that, Karina, which is I have a 2 in the front. When you have a number in front, a coefficient, you can't just flip the signs. You have to go the long way, which is 2x plus 1. What do I do with 2x plus 1? What's the long way? What do I do with that number? What do I do with each of them?
You take them apart.
Take them apart and make them what? Don't forget this on me, y'all. Come on. I'm finding the x-intercepts, finding the solutions, the zeros. What do I do?
Oh, I didn't hear you correctly. Okay, so you make both of the expressions equal to 0.
There you go.
For the left side, you subtract 1, and then after you subtract 1, you're left with 2x plus -1. And then to make x by itself, you divide 2x by 2, and you also have to do the same thing to the right side.
Good.
And everything will equal to -1 because I don't know why.
Everything at what's -1/2, we just leave it as -1/2.
Oh.
And then over here, what do I do to this one?
The same thing, but instead it's different. You add the 5,
Mm-hmm.
and then you're left with 2x equals +5. And then in order to get the x by itself, you divide it by 2, and you do the same thing on both sides.
Good. And 5 divided by 2, I'm just going to leave it as a fraction. X equals 5/2, and x equals -1/2. So you have to be very careful because you can't just flip the sign. Anytime you have a coefficient, you can't flip it. You got to do it the long way, which is why I always say, if you're not sure, do it the long way, because the long way will always give you the right answer. So now, any questions? I know that my in-school students, you guys just came back. So like I promised, I'll do the whole problem again. That way everybody gets to see it one more time. Any questions? Okay, cool. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to do the whole problem again, but I'm going to show you guys why it works if I do it. Remember what I said, you can do it in any order on this step. So I'm going to show you what happens if we do it the other way. Okay. So to review what we did, I'm not going to do from the very beginning because I'm just going to go from this step right here. So we already did this. The product of A times C was -20. So now I'm looking for two numbers that add up to -8 and then multiply to make -20. And those two numbers were -10 and +2. And in this case, but in the first time we did this, I wrote it as -10 plus 2. But this time I'm going to switch them around. So this time I'm going to do, okay, 4x squared plus 2x minus 10x minus 5. So I'm doing it the other way around. And it's still going to work. So let's see why it works. Now I can group the first two. And when I group the second two, I'm just going to be very careful because I have a negative sign over here. I want to make sure that I include the negative sign when I group them. You want to make sure you always include the negative. But I'm not multiplying here, so I'm just gonna put a little plus sign in the middle because that just helps me make sure that we're not multiplying. So any questions so far? Okay, now we do the same thing as before. I'm dividing, what can I divide both of these terms by?
2.
2 and x. What can I divide both of these by?
5.
And specifically, not just +5, but -5. -5. Okay, so let's do the first one. 4x squared divided by 2x, what do I end up with?
2x.
2x. So first let me put this 2x in the front. So again, 4x to the power of 2 divided by 2x. 4 divided by 2, I get 2. X squared divided by x, I'm left with x. And then what's 2x divided by 2x?
1.
1. Then over here, I bring out my -5. And what would be -10x divided by -5?
Positive 5.
Positive, careful, what's 10 divided by 5?
Negative 2.
2. So positive 2x. And -5 divided by itself?
Positive 1.
Positive 1. So now I have my 2x minus 5. I bring that together. And then my 2x plus 1. I bring that together. And I ended up with the same exact answer that I had before. So my factored form is 2x minus 5 times 2x plus 1. So it does not matter which way you split it up. You can split it up in any, you can either do 2 and -10, or you can do -10 and then 2. Either way, it's going to work. Questions? Cool. All right, now let's go ahead and do one more together. Let me see, do I have one more? No, I have 2 more examples to do together, and then I'll have you guys try it on your own. So we're still figuring this out together. So right now we're still opportunities to ask your questions. This is an opportunity to participate. This is an opportunity to tell me, Ms. Lopez, can you go back? Anything you guys need, I want to make sure that everybody understands this. So if you feel like I'm going too fast, or you feel like you need me to just do it again, tell me to do so, and I happily, I will. I need to just make sure that everybody knows how to do this. So start walking me through it. What should I be doing first?
I want to give everyone else a chance, so I'll just stay quiet, but I'll still answer some.
Okay. Anyone else? What's the first thing? We're using the AC method. That's what it's called. So what should I be doing first? Anyone? No one. Only Ajira knows what to do first. We just did 3 examples in a row. I should be hearing from many more people. Go back, and you should have been writing everything down. So go back into your notes and see what you did first in the previous example. It's the same exact steps. What do I do first? Send it to me in the chat privately. Send me a question in the chat privately. I should not be seeing all of this silence. That is unacceptable.
Should I just answer, Ms. Lopez?
Absolutely not, Ajira. Give everybody else a chance. Christopher, Karina, Alyssa, Chloe, Andrea, Anaya, David, Lauren, Bianca, Guillermo, Juan. I'm speaking to each of you. I should be seeing something in the chat from every single person in this class. And if it's the wrong answer, We're still learning, but I need to see an answer, something. What do I do first?
You multiply A times C.
You multiply A times C. What is this called? This is called the AC method. It tells you where to start. It tells you what to do first. The AC method. If you ever get to a new question, you don't know where to begin, the method is literally telling you what to do first. You're going to multiply A times C. God, why are you moving again? Where are we going now? Okay, well, I'm just gonna keep going. I have to keep teaching. So y'all have to watch the video when you get home. I don't know. I gotta keep going. A is 3. What's C?
8.
8. What's A times C?
24.
24. This is my new product. Now what do I do? Okay, I just need to make sure that you guys can hear what I'm saying. So I'm going to do this again. Y'all didn't like it the last time I did it, but we're doing it again. Send me in the chat right now privately and let me know that you're here. Just say, Miss, I'm here. Just so I know who's here and who walked away from their laptop. Guillermo's here. Good. Who else is here? Ijara's here. David's here. Karina's here. Anaya's here. Lauren is here. So the only students who are here right now are Guillermo, Ijara, David, Karina, Anaya, and Lauren. And I know that some students in school had to move to another class. I'm aware of those students. I just need to make sure who's listening to me, because if y'all aren't listening to me, then why are we even bothering? So Juan, you're not here? Juan's not here? Okay, goodbye, Juan. Andrea, you're not here? Andrea's not here. Goodbye, Andrea. Chloe, you're not here? Chloe's not here. Goodbye, Chloe. Okay, now I am left with the students who have been paying attention. Now, the thing is, if you're here and I'm not hearing from you, that's also a problem. Because at this point, this is where I get upset, y'all. And the first two problems, I understand. We're still learning, we're understanding, we're taking our time. But now I'm on problem number 3. So you should already have in your notebook everything from problem 1 and everything from problem 2. I'm not asking hard questions right now. I'm just asking you to tell me what's the next step. And if you have your notes written down, you should know what comes next because we already did it 2 times. It's right in front of you. So that's why I'm getting upset right now. Because what this tells me is that most of you guys either didn't write your notes down or you weren't paying attention. And I expect every single person to be paying attention the entire time, especially when you have your EOC in a month and a half. Now is not the time to be playing. I mean, it was never the time to be playing around, but especially right now, we should not be playing around. So I'm going to ask again, what comes next? You can tell me privately, you can tell me publicly. What's the next step? So somebody's telling me that I need to divide by 3. Can I divide by 3? What's 10 divided by 3?
You can't divide by 3 yet.
You can't do it. 10 divided by 3 you can't do. 8 divided by 3 you can't do. That's why we're doing this method to begin with. So now I'm seeing it in the chat. Good. Lauren understands. Karina's got it. Anaya's got it. We're going to find the 2 magic numbers. What do the magic numbers have to add up to? They have
10.
to add up, good, to 10. And they need to multiply to make
24.
24. Sum product. So step 1, A times C gives you your product. Step 2, sum product. We've been doing this since yesterday. We know how to do that. What 2 numbers add up to 10 and multiply to make 24? Okay, Lauren's got it, good. 6 and 4. 6 plus 4 equals 10. 6 times 4 is 24. Magic numbers. What do I do with those magic numbers? I found them, now what? Use them how?
Split the 10 up.
Split up my 10, exactly. 10x becomes, now does it matter the order?
No.
It doesn't. So I can write it in any order, but I'm gonna write it the same order we have it here. So 6x and 4x, and then my 8. So step 1, A times C gave me 24. That's my product. Yes, Bianca. You good, Bianca? Okay. Step 1, A times C gave me 24. Step 2, I have to find the sum, which is still, sum is always the middle number, the B, and the product is 24. So I had to find my sum product numbers, my magic numbers. That was +6 and +4. Step 3, we split up the B value into those 2 numbers. Now what? Now what? The parentheses, good. We're gonna group the first 2 and the second 2. Factor by grouping. Okay, so I separated them. Now what do I do with the first binomial? We can divide it by 3, good. So these are divisible by 3, and what else are they divisible by? So these 2 are divisible by 3, and I'm still talking about these.
X.
X, 3 and X, because they both have an X. Now these, like Lauren and Anaya also said it, are both divisible by what? Two, but even better, 4. The bigger number, the better. They're both divisible by 4. So again, my first pair of numbers are both divisible by 3, and they're both divisible by x. My second pair of numbers, both of them are divisible by 4. Now we can divide. So where does this 3x go? Where does the 3x go? Good, I see Ajira's writing it privately. Anybody else? Does it just go away magically? There we go, guys. Good. It goes in the front. It goes in the front. Then when you divide, you can figure out what you're left with. So 3x squared divided by 3x, what's left? Close, Lauren. Let me break this down for everybody because I feel like it'll be helpful if I write it separately. So I'm just going to write this over here on the side. I'm doing 3x squared divided by 3x. Well, that's the same thing as 3x times x over 3x, right? Because x to the power of 2 is really x times x. So if I start crossing things out, my 3's cancel out, one of the x's cancel out, and what am I left with? And one single x all by itself. So that's why 3x squared divided by 3x leaves me with x. Does anyone have any questions on that? Okay. Then, on the other hand, 6x divided by 3x, what does that leave me with? So 6 divided by 3, I get 2. But what happens to the x's? Here, I'll do this one separately as well so you can see it. 6x divided by 3x. The two x's cancel out with one another. And then 6 divided by 3 gives me 2. So I'm left with just 2. Yeah, the x's go away because they cancel each other out. So I'm left with just 2. If this helps you, if it helps to do it off to the side, then do it. Do it, do it, do it. Anything that makes you better, that's all you got to do. Now here, 4x divided by 4. What does that leave me with? Oh, and I'm leaving, don't forget the 4 in the front. Okay. Good. 4x divided by 4. My 4's cancel out, but I still am left with x. And then 8 divided by 4 is 2. So there we have it. We have 3x and we have our 4. I bring those together. And then I have my x plus 2's. I bring those together. And those are my factors. Okay, so I saw a lot more participation that time. That's good. That tells me that we're starting to understand it a little bit better. And let me tell you guys, if you participate, if you send me an answer and it's wrong, that's actually really good because you're going to learn from that error a lot better. If you don't say anything, then it's going to be a lot harder for you to learn from your mistakes. So the more mistakes you make in class that I can fix for you, the better. So please do not be afraid, especially if you're doing it privately, do not be afraid to send me an answer because even if it's wrong, that's actually really good for you. That actually forces you to learn the right way to do it. So keep that up. If you've been participating, good. I appreciate that. I want to shout that out. Shout out to Lauren, shout out to David, shout out to Guillermo, Anaya, and Najira, and Karina. Shout out for participation. I want to keep seeing that from everybody else as well. Any questions on this problem so far? We're going to do one more thing. Okay, now let's go ahead and let's find the x-intercepts. So I have my expression here. This is factored form. Remind me, what do I do to each factor in order to figure out the x-intercepts? Set them equal to 0. Good. All right. And now we solve. So over here, what do I do first? If I try to get x by itself, good. Subtract 4. 0 minus 4 gives me -4. And then I
Divide by 3x.
divide by 3. Yeah. So this one was it has 2 steps, but not too bad. I got x equals -4/3. And then on the other hand, Guillermo, you said it correctly. We're going to subtract 2 on both sides. This one's a little bit easier. All I get is x equals -2. So those are my 2 x-intercepts, -4/3 and -2. All right, so we have one more to do together, and that should leave us with enough time. By the way, I believe what's happening is they're going to hold you guys in period 1 until the testing is over. That's what I've heard, but I don't know for sure. Like, I've heard different things from different people. So we'll figure out what happens when it happens. Those of you who are at school, especially, I need you guys to let me know if they make an announcement or if the teacher says something. Just let me know so that I can tell to everybody else. All right. So we'll keep going until they tell us something. Okay. No, you do not get free time in this class. You already know that. Especially if you haven't finished your Khan Academy. Let me see. I'm going to put you on blast, Guillermo. Has he finished his Khan Academy? No, he has not. Guillermo Tolosa, nothing. So when you think it's free time, you better be doing your homework. Otherwise, that's going to be a Z in the grade book. Okay, next problem. Now that we're feeling a little more comfortable, let's see that participation. What do I do first? -5x. What about it? There you go, Karina. A times c. Oh, she even got that fancy dot symbol. I don't know how you guys do that. Some of my 5th period geometry students figured out how to get pi on the keyboard. Y'all too fancy. Okay. A is -5. C is +4. A times c. What do I get?
-20.
Good. -5 times +4. I get -20. All right, next. Now what?
Find the numbers.
Find the magic numbers. Good. And those magic numbers have to do what?
Add up to 8 and multiply -20.
Good. Perfect. They have to add up to 8 and multiply to make -20. All right, think about it. And let me know in the chat when you found the magic numbers. Good, Guillermo. 10 and -2. You got it. 10 minus 2 equals 8. 10 times -2 equals -20. So positive 10, -2. Okay, I won't say it. What do I do next? Split up the sum. Good. Split up the 8. So I get -5x squared. And the order doesn't matter. So I can write plus 10x minus 2x plus 4. But I could have done it the other way as well. You could do it either way. Questions? Confusions? Any at all? Now's your chance. Okay, so now what do I do?
You got to divide,
Almost, not yet. First, I got to do something else.
put parentheses.
Yeah, put down my parentheses. And remember, since I have a -2, I just want to make sure that the negative sign makes it into the parentheses. That's very important because it's a -2. So we want to keep that negative with the 2. And then I just put a plus sign in the middle just to remind myself that I'm not multiplying here. No, I'm adding. Now I can divide. So let's go ahead and look at the first set. What can I divide out of here?
5,
And?
two,
No, because 5 is not divisible by 2. So you got the 5 right. Well, what else?
5x.
X, yeah. And since this is negative, since we have a negative, we also want to divide that by -5 and x. Now, I'm going to show this off to the side. Actually, let's do the other set as well first. Let's do this first. What are these two divisible by?
2,
2, and specifically, remember, we always want to get rid of the negative, so -2. You always want to, if you have a negative, you want it out. You want to get it out of there. So I'm going to show this off to the side so we can all see it. -5x squared divided by -5x. Well, that's the same thing as -5 times x divided by -5 times x. So what cancels out? Good. The -5 cancels out, and what else cancels out? What's the same on the top and the bottom? I'm waiting for more people to send it in the chat. Good, the x, yeah. One of those x's cancels out, so what am I left with?
1x.
Just x, yeah. So -5x squared divided by -5x. Remember, we put this out in the front. and I'm left with x. Now try to do this in your head. You can try to visualize it. What cancels out when I do 10x divided by negative 5x? Good, the x's cancel out, and what am I left with? So when my x's cancel, I have 10 divided by negative 5. What does that leave me with?
-5.
Careful, what's 10 divided by 5?
-2.
There you go, -2.
Always the same problem.
That's okay. That happens. Okay. Does anyone want me to show that off to the side? I'm happy to
No.
do it. Okay. Now on this side, I bring out my -2. And let's try this. -2x divided by -2.
X.
Just x is left over. And then 4 divided by -2.
-2.
-2. Good. Beautiful. And now finally, I can bring these together. -5x minus 2 and x minus 2. Okay, questions on this one? This is the last one we're doing together. From here on out, I want you guys trying them on your own. No questions? Okay, cool. All right, so I'm gonna just erase this real quick. And now we find our x-intercepts. What do I do? How do I find my x-intercepts?
Subtract 2.
So yeah, for the one on the right, I would, well, before that, how do I set it up?
For x,
No. How do I set it up? I'm looking for my x-intercepts. I'm trying to find the roots, the zeros.
may I answer?
Of course.
You do -5x and -2
Mhm.
0, and you do x minus 2 equals 0.
Good, we set each of them equal to 0, and now I solve. So over here, what do I do first?
You add 2.
Add 2. -5x equals 2. Now what do I do?
Divide.
Divide by -5. 2 over -5, we can just leave it as -2 over 5. Now on this one, pretty easy. What do I do to both sides?
Add.
Add 2. And there you go. So those are my 2 zeros. We started, now let's actually think about what we just did. We started with standard form. And from standard form, we were able to turn it into factored form. And from factored form, we were able to find the zeros. So now we have a lot of tools in our tool belt that we can use. From standard form, what else do we know from standard form? What else do I know about this function? just by looking at the numbers. This is standard form. What does standard form tell me? Don't forget, everything we've done in the last 2 months comes back together. So think back. Standard form. What does standard form tell us about our function?
Standard form tells us the y.
The y-intercept. So what do we know that the y-intercept is?
Cuatro. Four.
Cuatro, 4. We
We're
know
done.
the y-intercept is 4. We found our x-intercepts. So that's 2 and -2/5. We know the y-intercept, we know the x-intercept. What else can we actually find using standard form?
Vertex.
We can find the vertex. We can find the vertex. Now, we're not going to do it right now, but if I wanted to, I would be able to do so using the vertex formula. So this is why this chapter kind of like, this is the last thing we learn in this class. It really puts everything all together. We are able to now, no matter what form you're in, you can figure out everything about the function, which is pretty cool. All right, 10:37, 10:38. Oh my goodness. Okay. So for the last 5 minutes of class, we're going to go ahead and I want you guys to try this problem using the AC method. Take it slow, follow up with what you did in your notes, ask me questions. Please ask me questions in the chat. 5 minutes on the clock. Go ahead and start.
Send you our final answer.
Send me your final answers. Yeah. A little less than a minute remaining. Just do as much as you can. And again, if you have any questions or if you just wanted me to check part of your answer, if you're halfway through and you just want to check that you're doing it right, you can also send me that. All right, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Let's check it out. A times C, what does that give me? A times C, 2 times 3,
6.
6. That's my product. My sum is 7. What two numbers add up to 7? Multiply to make 6.
6 and 1.
6 and 1. 6 plus 1 is 7. 6 times 1 is 6. So I split it up. Does not matter the order. You can do it either way. But I'll do 6 and 1. If you did it the other way, you should still get the same answer. Then I group. What can I divide out of these two terms? What are they both divisible by? 2 and
X.
x. Good. Now, are these divisible by anything?
By 1.
By 1, so we can just write 1. If there's nothing else that they're divisible by, we just write 1. That's totally fine. So now here, I take out my 2x. What am I going to be left with? What's 2x squared divided by 2x? Divided by. Good, we just get x. Guillermo, I think you were giving me the other one. 6x divided by 2x. That's where I get 3. Good. And then here, everything's divided by 1. So I'm just going to write plus 1. And I get the same thing, x plus 3. Now I group everything. I bring it all together. 2x plus 1 and x plus 3. Those are my factors. And my zeros. Let me bring this over here. I split it up, set it equal to 0. Here, what do I do to both sides? Actually, I'm just going to go, yeah, good, minus 1. That leaves me with 2x equals negative 1. Now I divide both sides by 2. So I get x equals negative 1/2. And on the other hand, I subtract 3. Whoops. Subtract 3. So I got x equals negative 3. Alrighty. So it is 10:46. I believe that they're going to keep you guys in first period. I'm pretty sure that's what's happening. However, I personally have to go to another meeting. So I'm going to be leaving, but you guys are going to be working independently. I'm going to take a screenshot of this and I'm going to post it onto Teams. So it'll be on Teams. If you can't take a screenshot of it right now, you'll see it on Teams in just a moment. And you're going to be working on this for the remaining time until they tell you to move to third period. If you're at home right now and you don't know when you're supposed to go to third period, here's what I would like you guys to do. Guillermo, I'm counting on you. When it's time to go to third period, can you post it on Teams so your classmates know that they have to go? Yeah? When it's time to move to, when they make the announcement, just post it onto Teams so that your classmates know. Let everybody else know. Guillermo or anybody else can do it, but I'm counting on you. Okay. And let's see what else. The other thing is if you haven't finished your Khan Academy assignment, now's the time to do that. Okay, so Khan Academy, in fact, if you want to do that first, then do that first, and then go on and do the practice problems. Any questions?
How do we send the practice problems to you? Do we just put them in the chat and then you'll see them?
I'm gonna put it on Teams right now. You're gonna send it to me on Google Phone or Remind. Okay. Okay. I'm typing it up right now. Send me a picture of your work and answers to Google Phone or Remind. Google phone number, I'm putting it there as well. 786-471-6760. Cool. All right. I posted it on Teams. It's there. Good luck on it. Send me your answers when you're done with it. And tomorrow we're just going to review everything we learned this week. Okay, guys? So have a good afternoon and I'll see you tomorrow. If you're testing tomorrow, have a good testing day and good luck. Guillermo, just go on period 1 Teams. I put it up. Just go to period 1 Teams. Okay. Bye, everybody.